2019 really ain't the year of the rooster at all. I know it's an old pun, and we've used that again and again and again. But the news, the bad news for Rooster Teeth continues to come out in 2019. At this point, we have a literal stockpile of bad news, bad PR, and mishaps from Rooster Teeth. In the latest one, it looks like it's also at fault for DC. And this is just great. Who would have expected a RWBY comic with DC to go badly in 2019? Not like the comic industry is failing or something like that. I mentioned this in a previous video. I thought it was awesome that RWBY got a manga a few years ago. That's great. I'm all for that. Give RWBY a manga. But why the heck in 2019 are you guys bragging about RWBY getting a DC comic when the comics industry is up in flames right now? I expected that to be an embarrassing thing when they announced it, and it turns out that's exactly what's happening. It seems we have a story today that's breaking news the last 24 hours or so that Rooster Teeth and DC allegedly have stolen a fan's design. I'll show you a document I compiled here. I was sent a Reddit post and a video from Mercury, shouts out, talking about this, and I've looked into it on Reddit, on YouTube, on Twitter, social media, and all that sort of thing. I've got a few Reddit posts to go over, a few screenshots to show you, and here's the full story. Let's get into it. All right, we're going to go through this document now. At the beginning, I have some comparisons here, thanks to Mercury, and I put my watermark on this because there are multiple people saying that Rooster Teeth allegedly has taken legal action against people before for talking about art being taken or for criticizing them in general. Now, I'm going to be completely honest here, of course, as I always am. I haven't had any legal action taken against me from Rooster Teeth. I've criticized Rooster Teeth, I don't know, 10 to 15 times in 2019 or so, and they haven't taken legal action against me. So I don't know what those rumors are all about. I don't know if that's true or not, but I will give Rooster Teeth credit on this one. They haven't come after me for anything of the sort, so there you go. I will give Rooster Teeth credit there. Maybe those are just rumors. Personally, they haven't done anything to me like that. So there you go. Now, that said, I am still taking a precaution here. I put my watermark on this, and this is absolutely fair use. I mean, this is a public event. There's multiple social media posts about this right now. It's definitely news, and my commentary is definitely going to fit fair use because I'm going to not be looking at their art much longer here. It's going to be a very small portion of this video. And if you want the full context, by all means, you're not going to get it from one little piece here in my video with a watermark over it with me scrolling it away in a few seconds. You're going to want to get the full book for the full context to enjoy the full product because you're not going to get that here. Moving on now. So you can see the fan design on the right, and you can see Glynda on the left. Now, if you've seen RWBY, Glynda uses a riding crop as a weapon. Doesn't use a revolver. So apparently some people on Reddit are saying this is from a scene where there's a race or something. So there you go. I guess they're joking around a little bit. But regardless, you can see this is pretty much a blatant... I mean, look, you got a revolver with a blade on top, a 3-barrel revolver. It looks pretty much the same. Some more pictures of the fan's weapon itself. There you go. Although I guess this one's actually not... Well, yeah, it is 3-barrel. It's just the cylinder. My bad. Cylinder has got 5 3-barrel revolver, though, I guess. There you go. I'm more of a sword person than a firearm person, after all. And then you got a few more examples here. It's from this YouTuber, Chris Lee. So shouts out to Chris Lee if you guys want to take a look. He's got a lot of cool videos showing different OC weapons he's made. And who knows, maybe you'll see these weapons coming out in future DC comics with RWBY collabs. It's a really bad joke. Hopefully not. Unless they actually give him credit or work out some sort of deal. If they really did steal this. I mean, so far it's still alleged. Make of it what you will with your opinion on that. I can't sit here saying for sure that the person who did this absolutely went to Chris Lee's YouTube channel or whatever and saw this design, or went to Google Images and saw the design and blatantly ripped it. I can't say that because I don't know for sure, but I can tell you what it looks like. And of course, you can make your own opinion on what it looks like as well. So let's move on. So apparently Chris is aware of this issue, and he made a post on one of his YouTube videos saying, "Thanks guys for the heads up. I haven't been following the comics. I saw the Reddit post as well. Are those the only frames where it appears, or does anyone have a link where I can look at the chapter for free? No, I have never been contacted by Rooster Teeth or DC. I had a similar situation with Bronze, the Bronze sniper rifle in Volume 3, although this one is much more spot on. I have mixed feelings about it all, but at least I think it's cool my work was noticed. Maybe I'll make an update video/post and talk about this soon." You absolutely should, in my opinion. So he says that he's fine with it. It's cool that his work was noticed. Now, he can be fine with it, but we as a community can collectively still talk about this and have an opinion on this. He might be fine with it, but I personally don't think it's a very good thing that's done here if it really was taking his design. Because again, right now it's still alleged, right? But again, make your opinion on that all. Some of the responses to that post. Here is where I read the comic for free. I did take that link away because I can't sit here promoting a website that's going to post content like that for free. I think you guys can understand. Now, if you want to find or if you want to look that stuff up, not judging you at all, I just can't promote that on my video. I think you understand that. It says issue 5 isn't up yet though. The panels in the post are the only 2 appearances the revolver makes. It's used as a starting pistol in an obstacle course race. There you go, another post talking about that. I think it's a shame nobody has contacted you. They didn't even credit you anywhere as far as I know, but at least you are looking at it from the bright side. It's a great design. You should get recognized for it. Some more comments. You deserve some compensation for this. This is your work being used without your consent, and not to great effect. Oof. Another comment. I agree with the previous guy. This design has been stolen wholesale. You actually have some decent ground to ask for compensation. I think you should, personally. I don't expect you to win or anything, but at least let these guys know that that they can't get away with art theft and have nobody notice. And moving on. So let's hop over to RWBY now. All right, over on RWBY. And before we actually read this, I'm going to ask you a question. Are you expecting the RWBY Reddit to, acknowledge how bad this is if Rooster Teeth and DC really took this fan OC's weapon? Or do you think that they're going to defend Rooster Teeth, even in the face of doing something deplorable if they really did do such? Yeah, most of them seem to be defending Rooster Teeth and DC. Let's take a look. My gosh, man. I can't believe it. The RWBY Reddit, man, it used to actually be like a good place. You'd have theories and discussions. Now it's just fan art that's reposted over and over again from people that didn't even make it, and then people that just white knight for Rooster Teeth. And maybe there's a theory here and there, but it doesn't get nearly as much upvotes as the fan art. And it's just such a shame, man. It's really regressed. Anyways, moving on. So this one user writes, "What's the percentage of this being a coincidence? Because even though they are identical, a revolver with a blade is not exactly the most original design ever made, especially since they already have one of those in the show." Response is, the revolver also has 3 revolvers and 3 barrels, and the colors match. The revolver also has 3 revolvers, not sure what that means, but the 3 barrels part I got, and the colors do match, at least to me they did too. The response from the Player Red guy from before, "Since the people doing the comics have already shown that they don't understand anything about RWBY, my theory is that they were searching for weapons that appear on Volume 5, and just took the first gun blade that they found." Yeah, so guess what? That's still not okay. Going on the internet and just taking the first gunblade art that they found and sticking the entire design, like almost identical, word for word, if that's the right saying there, word for word, but you guys know what I mean. Yeah, that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it a coincidence either. This is why Reddit is just so absurd, man. How does that make it a coincidence? The guy says, he implies that it's a coincidence, saying, what's the percentage of this being a coincidence? Then says maybe they just found it on the internet and stole it, basically. That's not a coincidence. That's still doing something very wrong. And that's basically what's being said here anyways. Whether they got it from a YouTube video or from Google, it seems like it is allegedly from that artist's work. So, moving on. Response: is that to say the quality is bad? I was thinking about picking it up when I went to trade the paperback, but if it's good, but if it's not good, I may reconsider it. Regarding the comic, it's really not that bad at all. People just upset that like 2 panels in the first chapter were approximations of the events of Volume 3 rather than one-to-one recreations of the scene. Blah, blah, blah. Talks about the criticism, talks about the comic, inconsistencies, retcons, some other issues. Let's move on, though. Let's focus on the one at hand here. And finally, says, true, but having one that's the exact shape facing the exact same direction is very suspect regarding the design. Now, while some people on the RWBY Reddit are actually defending the fans' creation, I want you to also pay attention to the amount of upvotes that they're getting. 4 upvotes from the person defending the design. The person saying it's just a coincidence has 6. It's going to get more proliferated as we continue. This one's not so bad. The other follow-up comment has 7, so not so bad, but let's continue on. It's going to get worse. Take a look at this one. It says, this was posted before. That's where the video got its content from. Yeah, and the stuff about RT/DC stealing the design was getting drowned out by jokes about the weapon's design. So exactly that. And that's what's happening in this thread too. Instead of people, and you're not seeing the full context here because obviously I'm not showing the full thread here. I'm just kind of picking out certain posts. But if you guys see that full thread, that's what happened. There's more people in that thread talking about the comic and the design and just making jokes than they actually are talking about the serious issue at hand. And then you got people just white knighting for RT, of course. Says, hey, it's fine, to be honest. I even asked a gun enthusiast. If you look at French designs, you can find stuff like this. And links this one, and then links another one from Final Fantasy, I guess. And the response, being honest, nothing really stands out about the weapon that I am surprised people recognized it in the comic. Just seems like a generic revolver. But it being a dead-on ringer for the fan-made one is something that is on the artist of the comic. The editor and RT contacts for this comic, Eddie, Miles, Carey, etc., can't be expected to have encyclopedic knowledge of every fan work that exists for RWBY and be able to spot it. No one is saying that those specific people should. Why are you even bringing them into this? Continuing, they just have to trust the artist did their own work, and in this case, it is questionable. It's just the revolver doesn't stand out at all. That I am genuinely surprised people caught it and identified it. I mean, dude, yeah, the revolver itself, it does stand out because, listen, as we mentioned already, Glynda's weapon is a riding crop, not a revolver. So, of course, this would stand out to people. Instantly, they would see this. And anyone who's seen the video or, you know, this image posted anywhere on the internet would probably think this is quite similar looking and then go back and look at it and see that indeed it is. The only difference here really is that it looks like the dust cartridges are not actually colored like they are here. But the blade is the same. The 3 barrels are the same, it looks like. You can't really see the other cylinders, but on the side you can see 2. On this side you can see 2, so you can reasonably assume this is a 5-cylinder revolver as well. Now, of course, again, a revolver with a blade on top, that's not like a patented design by this artist, I don't think. So we still have to go with alleged because we don't know for sure. But the public opinion matters. And this is not a great look with everything else that's gone on with Rooster Teeth in 2019. And at some point, you have so many things going on that it's not a coincidence anymore. That said, there's also, of course, the take of not attributing malice to what can be attributed to ignorance or something like that, right? So perhaps this was not maliciously stealing the thing. Perhaps the person was ignorant that it was a design and they just got it off the internet, sure, but that doesn't make it okay. It's still definitely negligence, in my opinion. So you can either, you know, there's multiple things wrong here. If they knowingly took it, of course, you could start to argue plagiarism, art theft, blah, blah, blah. If they didn't knowingly take it, you could start to argue negligence if it is indeed if it was ripped from the artist. Again, alleged, blah, blah, blah. Let's continue on. So let's move on here. Oh, and yes. So yeah, let's continue on. Here we go. Next post says, Chris says he's okay with it, which is honestly terrible. This line rubs me the wrong way. That's a quote from Mercury's video where Mercury mentions Chris's his comment there where he says he's okay with it more or less. We already went over that one. So this guy says that line rubs him the wrong way. The response here, if the fan is happy with it, that's case closed. It would be neat to be credited, and if DC cares, they may fix it, or in the next issue, just print something about how they accidentally did it and credit Chris for the design. No, that's not okay. You don't get to be the one to say case closed, and you're implying that if the fan is happy with it, there's nothing more to discuss here. No, that's not how this works. You see, when an event happens like this, people can talk about it. Even if the fan is okay with his design being stolen, if it really was stolen, that doesn't mean that everybody else in the entire world has to also, by default, be okay with it. We're allowed to criticize these sort of events. That's how it is. And it's just ridiculous, man. This guy says it would be neat to be credited, and if DC cares, it wouldn't just be neat to be credited. It would be the right thing. If they really stole his work, no, it would not just be neat. It would be justly due. What are you talking about? Moving on. And, you know, this is where it's starting to get more proliferated with the upvotes. This person gets 25 upvotes for saying the line rubs the wrong way. This guy gets 4 upvotes for saying case closed. Moving on. I'll be honest, a panel or two of fan-made weapons seem like a homage rather than let's steal someone's creation. I mean, would people react the same way if Team Silver gets mentioned in the main series with no explicit mention of Mark Zhang? I mean, that's still like referencing Team Silver, and I think the public knows what Team Silver is if they're familiar with it. And if they're not, they might look it up and see Mark Zhang. So at least that would still credit him in a way and drive traffic to him. And even then, it still wouldn't be the justly due credit. I mean, they should Well, I mean, no, this is different. It's one thing to mention it, that could be paying homage, and this sort of thing happens in anime, comics, entertainment in general. There is paying homage, but then there is also blatant stealing. And this has been a thing discussed in comics as well. Certain comic covers literally looks like they were ripped off from previous versions and things like that. So there's an argument for when it's parody or paying homage and when it's blatantly stealing. So it's kind of a complicated issue. Not that complicated, though. I mean, there's lots of precedents for this. So this is not a great example, and it's one, like I said, there's already precedents for, and it's not really, it's kind of apples and oranges, you know? Like mentioning Team Silver, having a character say, oh, by the way, Team Silver is really cool, is a lot different than just low-key taking a weapon design and putting it in your novel and selling it. You know what I mean? Continuing on. Says, I mean, this is a straight up copy though. It's not like paying homage to the bike slide scene in Akira, which tons of shows have done. So there you go. That's an example of paying homage, indeed. I mean, would people react the same way if Team Silver gets mentioned in the main series? No explicit mention of Mark Zane. I would think so if they didn't tell the creator about it or ask to use it at least. So 16 upvotes here. So actually not too bad. Not too bad. Maybe I was a bit mistaken on that. Says, you know how easy it would have been to draw a normal gun and call it a day? It's not as if they literally took the 3D model, used it in the show, and pretend they made it. They drew it in 2D, liked the look of it, and went with it. It was 2 panels for a one-off scene. It's not as if Glynda's actual weapon or anything. Still, why could they not have just used a revolver? If you're going to imply that it's so unimportant because it's just 2 panels, they could have just drawn a revolver. They didn't have to actually take this person's design if they really did that. And I like how this person, like, assumes how their creative process is, you know? Oh, it's not like they literally took the 3D model, used it in the show, and pretended they made it. They drew it in 2D, liked the look of it, and went with it. I mean, you really don't know. I don't think they took the 3D model, because I don't know how they would use that unless that YouTuber is linking his model. So maybe he is. Who knows? I don't think that random Reddit person knows for sure, though, but he sure talks like he does. Now, here I get a little shout out. Take a look at this one. It says, who do you guys think will be the first to make a video blowing the situation out of proportion? Adele or Hey? Place your bets. Adele seems to be liking the comic. I don't think the gun can be blank thought, so who knows? I don't know what that means. I don't know, man. Am I blowing this out of proportion? I'm literally just reading and sharing my opinion on what you guys are talking about. But, you know, so here's the thing, man. I get so much crap in the RWBY community because the RWBY hates me because I called them out like a year and a half ago because their criticism sucked. And because I probably do their job better than they do now in terms of criticizing Rooster Teeth, because that's why they went with the name Hate Them. They're trying to be edgy, and I called them out on that, man. And their criticism sucked. They're trying too hard to be edgy. The Hate Them is ridiculous. I don't like those guys. They don't like me. At the same time, the fanatics don't like me either. So I'm right here in the middle, criticizing Rooster Teeth when it's applicable, praising them when it's applicable, which is just not much in 2019. But, you know, back in the day, I didn't have much bad things to say about Rooster Teeth at all. Really liked their work. And the fact is that they just have been doing a lot of disagreeable things. I like to fight for truth, for evidence, for the consumer, for the fans. And I like to call out companies when they go against all of that. And it turns out Rooster Teeth in 2019 has been going against that a heck of a lot. So the fanatics hate me, the Hate Them hates me, and, you know, I'm fine with that. It's just funny. I guess I'm living rent-free in their minds a lot. Like this random dude. Oh, this is Player Red, who we've been talking about a little bit in this document. Yeah, I think his was the first post we went over right there. Player Red. Indeed. So you get to talk about this on Reddit, but I don't get to talk about it on YouTube. So sure, man, whatever. Moving on. Let's see. Here we go. I would consider it more of a reference than stealing, and if anything, you should get mad at the comic book artists and not Rooster Teeth as a whole. Now, okay, I mentioned earlier in the video that the upvotes start to get more prolific, and then I kind of backpedaled on that a little bit because I don't know, I thought maybe I was mistaken. But no, it looks like this is where it is. I thought it was going on earlier in the document, but it was more towards the end. My mistake. So here you go. This one gets 9 upvotes, and the comment calling it out only gets 1. Says, even so, you still have to acknowledge that a creator made a piece of content. A friend of mine actually has a reference to his fanfiction from Destiny in the Forsaken DLC, and a Bungie executive asked to have his story get referenced because one or nearly all of their staff liked it. And he said, go ahead, and they credited him somewhere. I just can't find the dang link. 1 upvote. So, not upvoted at all, basically. While it's obviously not a good thing to happen, I also feel like this is an overreaction. Now, I can't say whether or not it's actually the fan's design that's been stolen. Me neither. And I've been making that same fact over and over again throughout this video. But you'll still have weirdos like that red guy saying I'm blowing this out of proportion because they don't actually watch the content. They just want to cry about it. Continuing. And even if it is the case, then it's a careless mistake for sure. You can't assume that. What are you talking about? But the fan that designed the weapon is fine with it. Therefore, there is no reason IMO to make an issue of this. I don't like if this guy would have said it's probably a careless mistake, that'd be okay. But to say like for sure, that's a bit ridiculous. You're talking about overreaction, man. You're having an overreaction for the mistake. You're like saying it's for sure a mistake. Chill out. Moving on. I don't even know if I could consider this stealing a design. It's such a generic blade design. I've doodled things that look just like it, and I'm no artist. Plenty of people have probably drawn that very thing or close to it without really thinking about it. I'll say it again. It's just so generic, anyone can really say it's that. And would it be that hard to come up with it? It's the specific combination of being a revolver with 3 barrels and that blade on top. No upvotes. The other one gets 3. So there we go. Now, let's take a look at a different subreddit, because these people actually were okay putting Rooster Teeth on blast. Shouts out to our 2 best friends play. Says, okay, I know people tend to make mountains out of molehills, but wow, that's actually just literally the same thing. 44 upvotes. You can see already a much more reasonable place than the cesspool that is now the RWBY Reddit. It's so unfortunate, man. I used to love that place. I used to do live streams where we would just go to the RWBY Reddit and read theories and look at fan art and discussions and stuff like that. And nowadays, that place is so devoid of actual content, it's not even worth showing on stream anymore. It's really sad. It really is. I mean, if I want to look at art, I'll just go on Twitter or something. I don't need to go to the RWBY Reddit, which is basically just, as I mentioned, a place that people repost art for karma, even though most of the time, as in 99% of the time, probably it's not their art. Moving on. I hope these artists are getting credited and are getting compensated for their work somehow. Artist singular, and the guy revealed that no, RT or DC never asked if they could use the design. Why am I not surprised? Rooster Teeth and taking advantage of fans name a more iconic duo. So I looked it up, and the writers historically wrote for DC. Pretty sure this is on DC. The artist is a Rooster Teeth guy. I thought DC assigned artists on projects. Yeah, this is pretty poor behavior from, and why fan works are super messy. Also, I can see why artists feel okay with this, but they really shouldn't. RT especially has a murky history when it comes to, quote, borrowing assets and fan designs for RWBY, and also a habit of using their legal team to delete any evidence of this borrowing. So, yeah, that was one of the posts I alluded to earlier. 77 upvotes on that. Wow. What are some other cases of this happening? Links a Tumblr post, says stuff like this, and the response, I knew I saw this post a while back, just couldn't find it for the life of me. Thank you. I checked out that Tumblr post, and it was decent, but it didn't seem important enough to actually show in this video, so I'm not going to. It was a little comparison with like Yang's hair and Weiss's hair and the design that they had. I don't know. That did look a bit generic, to be honest. I don't know. It could be that they took that as well, but maybe not. It's just anime design, so you know, it was literally like the way the hair kind of spiraled at the end. That's what they were getting at. So not enough merit on that one for me, so I'm going to pass on that one. But that's my document, guys. That's where we're at. So let me pull up my shouts out, because I got a heck of a lot of shouts out to give. I owe you guys. So let me know what you guys think about this story, latest potential blunder for Rooster Teeth and DC. And while more blame might go on DC, they certainly should both be held responsible. As this is a dual collaboration, you would want both to get praise if the book was good, right? If the comic was good. So they should both get criticized when there are things like this. Not saying that they are guilty, but this certainly looks like it's a potential issue here. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I've got a bunch of shoutouts. I didn't give them in the last 2 videos, so I'm 3 videos behind. So we might be here for a little while. For the last 3 videos, shouts out to Rookie, The Lancaster Kid, Mr. Anime 343, Night Mad Dragon, Coden X, Spin Master Rockta, Skelekitty, Joshua B, Spin Master Rockta, Spooky Ryomao, Nightmare 13, Brandon Mayo, The Lancaster Kid, Crispy Noken, Clever Halloween Name, Skirius Alpha, Rookie, Mr. Anime 343, Coden X, Yori Kazuto Slinke, or Sinke, Cerno HK, Alan Walker, DXDKJ, Ambi-Pass Studio / Production, Crispy Noken, Mark Weinstein, Crazy Ed, The Lancaster Kid, Super Saiyan Hey, oh snap, I changed your name, Ravenwood, Mr. Anime 343, Josh, Welcome to Idiocracy, Carvasu, aka Gecko Tahakata, Wesley De Agio. And there we go. All right. Thank you guys for your patience. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great one. I'll see you very soon. Some more news coming up shortly. I'll see you in the next segment. Catch you then. Peace.